it was sort of a long process to lead to my diagnosis. It started with my wife and I had our first son in May of 2014, and I noticed that she could hold him a lot longer than I could without getting tired. And then same thing, just throughout his infancy, I just couldn't keep up with the things my wife was doing with him, and I thought it just had to do with lack of sleep or being in my mid-30s. But then all of a sudden, I started getting headaches, and that was the first thing that actually made me go to the doctor. And I had that headache in the same spot for about 2 weeks. And we did an MRI and everything, and clear. So the doctor just said, well, let me know. No one thinks cancer when you have a headache. So rightfully so, he said, let me know if you have any other symptoms down the road. And sure enough, a few months after that, I started having visual distortions on the periphery of my vision. And went and saw an eye specialist, and my retinas were hemorrhaging. And apparently there's a very short list of reasons why your retinas would hemorrhage. And we were kind of going through the list of eliminating what's what, leaving sort of the worst things towards the end, one of them being a blood disorder. And during all that, I just, at that point, started bruising real badly all over. And that's when my doctor ran a CBC on me and found out that my white blood cell count was just in another stratosphere. I think normal's between 4 and 10,000, mine was at 220,000. And that's actually what was causing my bruising, was the white blood cells were crowding out my veins and causing them to burst. I was actually on a guy's trip. I was 2 hours into Mississippi when I got the phone call from my doctor. And when he gave me the news, it didn't click. I guess it's your defense mechanism. But he said, I need you to get to West Clinic today. And I asked him, well, could it wait till Monday? And he said, no, you got to turn that car around and get back to Memphis right now. And that's when it hit me. So I have chronic myelogenous leukemia. And I'm very fortunate that there's a new form of chemotherapy. It's called a TKI drug. And while I do go through the typical chemotherapy reactions, hair loss, nausea, headache, fatigue. Fatigue was the worst. But my skin got scaly everywhere for a while. But the great thing about this is that your body actually gets used to them. And some people don't ever have side effects after that. Most people hang on to one or two, and mine actually, the one that stuck with me was the fatigue. And but I've lost a lot of weight, and because of my particular form of leukemia, we actually are just going to treat it for the rest of my life, and I'll live with it rather than go for cure. And so since I have to take this drug the rest of my life, I just got fed up with it. And I knew I couldn't live my life, the rest of my life. Any moment I would sit down, I literally would fall asleep. I had no energy to play with my son. And I just decided that that's for the birds, and I've got to find any edge I can get on having energy again. So I went and had a conversation with my oncologist and just asked him what I could do. And he said, start working out. You need to clean up your diet and start there. And I did exactly that. And the first day back in the gym, I think I lasted about 5 minutes. And then after that, I lasted about 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes turned into 20 minutes. To the point now I'm actually in the best shape of my entire life. The biggest motivator for me throughout this whole process was when I went and had lunch with Jerry Finney. And he had a different form of cancer, but there were some similarities. And when I sat down and had lunch with him, I was basically pouring my heart out to him about, emotionally what I was going through in terms of, where my numbers were and what statistical bucket that put me in terms of life expectancy and all that. And he looked at me and he said, Brown, he said, stop right there. All those numbers you just quoted, those are all based on people that came before you. Those are not your numbers. So forget about it. Quit talking about that. He said, no one knows how you're going to react, and you're going to be fine. And so every time I go into an appointment now, and it's like a roller coaster. I mean, some days I go in and my numbers make a great improvement, and then other days, they go up. And I remember that conversation every single time, and it honestly gets me through a lot of the hard times when I start to worry that, you know, is the leukemia coming back? Is it overtaking the drug? I just remind myself that statistically, whatever bucket the doctor just put me in that visit, that's not me.